All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everyone.
And today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang's debate strategy for the upcoming debate. Apparently, he's packing brass knuckles, and they got somebody's name on it. Cody, what's going on?
Yeah, it seems Andrew Yang heard some of the criticisms. He didn't speak up enough in the first debate. So his plan for the second debate seems to be pretty focused, really. So he seems to know what he's doing. He alerted the press yesterday that he will be attacking Michael Bennett next week's debate. He apologized to Mr. Bennett and said he knows what he did, though, so don't worry. He knows where this is coming from. Now, spoilers. To break it down, Michael Bennett responded to the tweet, and he said that he just confirmed with the debate officials that Andrew Yang's microphone will be muted during the his rebuttal, which was in response to Andrew Yang saying that even if he only gets 3 minutes of talking time at the next debate, all 3 minutes of it attacking Michael Bennett. So, from a guy
Dude, look at that penguin saying, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
hilarious.
And I apologize for this image. For whatever reason, this image will not load right now. But it's an image of a penguin pushing another penguin, I believe, off of things. So there's some penguin-themed horseplay going back and forth. And then finally, Michael Bennett finally revealed what he did. He got a C in his pre-calc in high school on the retake.
Now,
I don't know why the Asian guy would care about that, but no. But it was in all honesty, it seems like actually just kind of an exchange and good faith, just all in fun between two candidates who I assume on some level respect each other. Which, dude, I mean, we watched the first debate. I couldn't really tell you if I thought how many of those people respected each other. I thought Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were friends. Kamala Harris said about 6 months ago, I'm not going to attack Joe Biden. Why would I? He's a great guy. Yeah. Well, got in the debate stage and hogged the debate attacking Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Well, they both hogged
Call him a
racist.
Other.
Well, and just the idea of like, it's just so weird to me to just volunteer like, oh, he's my friend. No, I think he's a great guy. And it's like, well, now I'm running against him. So maybe he's not a great guy. Yeah, maybe I have to rethink things. But
and it begs the question. It's like, well, Kamala, so you were friends for all those years with a racist? Thinking he was racist?
Well, like I said, what? It is so foolish to attack each other. And what if Joe Biden does win the ticket?
I love it when
he loses voters because of it. It's just like, it's so, but one last thing I want to get to.
Okay.
Because who is Michael Bennett? Not everyone knows. You might recognize the name. Michael Bennett, I believe, is the senior senator from the state of Colorado. As far as his plans go, he seems to really have three big things he's focused on, which is climate change, political reform, and the last one is...
But what does he want?
Rural health. This is a really interesting one. He wants to basically focus on changing our healthcare system to better accommodate people living in rural areas. To achieve universal healthcare, lower costs, and improve the quality of care in rural America, the Bennett administration will, I always love reading As President I will, you know this, establish the Medicare X public option, we'll go over that in a second, lower the cost of the healthcare, close existing coverage gaps, harness technology and innovation, increase access to rural health providers, including mental health and primary care providers, improve maternal and infant health outcomes, combat substance abuse, and support seniors and caregivers. So it sounds like good stuff. I could see why a guy like this, Andrew Yang, would respect and say, hey, I in a way, bringing his name up. I mean, right now, Bennett's polling at, let me pull up the latest polling data. The aggregates have Bennett at 0.3%. I mean, he's not a legit threat. I mean, he's belief Yang in the polls, but Yang saying, like, I'm going to take this guy who, theoretically, you should never talk about people beneath you. You don't want to give them that win of being in the headlines with you. But Yang's saying, no, I think this is a guy. I assume he's saying, I like this guy. I think he's got some cool ideas. I want to make sure both of our voices are more heard in this debate stage. So I'm going to start this kind of faux controversy now as people are thinking Michael Bennett and Andrew Yang going into the debate. I think it's genius.
Yeah, and also, it makes me wonder, is this a watershed moment? Because one of the things you'll notice, I loved when Kanye West said, hey, I like the way Candace Owens thinks. Not to endorse anything specific about Candace Owens.
I believe he walked that back even.
Or Kanye West. No, he never walked it back. He walked back
his support for Candace Owens.
Well, there was a question over whether or not he had designed the T-shirts for Blexit that she was making, and so he said, I'm backing out of politics. He never actually said, I take back that tweet.
He said he felt used by them, so I don't think.
Well, that's understandable. If they're trying to sell, if he feels they're trying to sell T-shirts based upon an expression he made online, then yeah, I could see why he would feel that way. But at the end of the day, I think we'll look back a decade from now as the death grip that Democrats have on the black community, especially their votes, loosens as that being the first excuse or the turning point.
I don't know, but dude, Kanye West isn't the Pope of black people. Like, he's just a black guy, but they don't like follow him.
I know. I'm not saying he's the Pope. Okay, I'm just saying it will have been a tipping point. Okay. It's like Emmett Till was not the Pope of black people either. He was just a black man, just like Kanye West is just a black man.
He's like murdered.
But yes, he was murdered. I know that. But I'm just saying people look back as saying his mother choosing to have the open casket funeral just so everybody had to see what the KKK had done to these people actually created that watershed moment and that tipping point in civil rights where it became a really big thing. And we went from just being accepting Jim Crow to actively fighting against it. So I'm wondering if hopefully on what now is the party of grievance, the party of accusation of racism, the party of accusation of everything-ism, and the party of debating by being offended first, okay, which was evidenced by Kamala in the last debate with Joe Biden, criticizing a man who simply was just trying to negotiate with fellow senators. I look at that and I think, who knows, hopefully maybe this interaction, this debate will be the first return to civility. The question is just whether or not the DNC will permit it or allow it. Because part of Donald Trump's fame was, look, I'm the big successful businessman that lives up in the ivory tower. You want to be like me? I want you to be like me, so vote like me. And he marketed himself not as the everyman, but as the smart businessman that's going to make America great again. And it worked. I'm wondering if the DNC is going to permit this return to what seems to be good, wise, civil, and almost fun debate between candidates, or if they're just going to ramrod through these lower candidates because at the end of the day, they want Biden in there.
Well, what I would say is, as fun as it is, as much as I love to see it, we're talking about a candidate, in all honesty, Andrew Yang's aggregate polling data is 2%, Michael Bennett, 1/3%. Tell me when Biden, Sanders, Warren, Harris, mostly those four, the guys put people polling in double digits. Tell me when they say we're not going to go on stage and attack each other. Tell me when they say we're going to poke lighthearted fun at each other. Because until then, man, they are the establishment Democrat candidate. Well, Bernie Sanders isn't. He's kind of since 2016, nuzzled up more to the DNC. But you look at Biden, Warren, Harris, dude, that is the establishment forerunning Democrats. And two of them took up way too much time at the last debate attacking each other, which looks bad for the party
but
anyway.
This is exactly what I'm saying, though, is the exhausted majority is truly exhausted. And when I look at the list, when you pull up that 2020 Democratic presidential nomination list, go down there to where the graphic shows all of the candidates. I mean, who are the people on top? Well, not that part of the graphic. I'm talking about the actual graph on top. Look at that. The green line is Biden. Okay, who's in second place? It's going to be Bernie Sanders. Yeah. And then you have amalgamation of
they
Elizabeth
both dropped
Warren.
Big, though, if you notice. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I get that. But at the end of the day, literally, besides maybe Bennett and Andrew Yang, I can't think of a non-grievance Democrat candidate. Swalwell did nothing but appear on Fox News for the past 2 years, accusing everybody of every ism out there.
In the race.
Yeah, but still, Warren, that's all she does. Kamala Harris, that's all she does now. Joe Biden, until he released his video attacking Donald Trump, was actually the only guy on the Democrat side that I viewed as kind of like an old school politician that doesn't want to go into the mud and fight dirty, besides Andrew Yang. But now even Joe Biden has become negative. So part of the reason I like Yang is because he's refusing to do this backwards attack grievance industry stuff. I'm fine with negative ads if there's something negative to be said and exposed about somebody, but there's also a difference between the grievance industry, because things start as movements, but then movements become businesses, and then businesses become rackets. And that's literally where the grievance industry is gone, and all of these candidates are there. I don't know. Where do I go wrong?
No, I mean, I would say, only thing I would say is, of the main ones you mentioned, Elizabeth Warren's probably the least aggressive in that sense, and she's also the one trending considerably up since basically the start of her campaign. So I do think that the voters are recognizing that, and they're saying that Elizabeth Warren, when she speaks, most of the time she'll say, "Oh, Orange Man bad," but she'll also say, here's legit problems we face, I think have solutions. So I think that's why she's polling up. I do believe that's true. But anyway, we want to talk about in this debate, and this kind of goes back to what you were just speaking about a minute ago, is what is Andrew Yang going to do at the next debate? And I believe this article is from a few days before the tweet. So I believe, and this is a quote from Randy Jones, the Yang's press secretary and political director.
Is that the guy we met in L.A.?
No.
Okay.
He said a bunch of career politicians interrupting and launching personal attacks on each other. That isn't really Andrew's style. It's Trump's game. If Democrats try to play Trump's game, we're going to lose. And I think this tweet from Andrew Yang, just 3 or 4 days after this article gets published, is a great example of exactly what they mean. Is it doesn't do us any good as a party to call each other, Lion Ted and Little Marco. Like what we should be doing is we should be doing stuff like this. We should be using social media to show people that, hey, we're regular old human beings who have a base level of respect for each other because we think that people aren't just basic decency, man. Like, holy cow, it is ridiculous to me how refreshing this is. This shouldn't be some fun, refreshing, oh, look at this, 2 Canadas joking with each other. It shouldn't be we've gotten to the point where it's just, well, I accept it. They're attacking each other. I mean, can you think of any other instance like that between politicians recently? Which is sad, right? I've used the example before of dude, when we see our senators attack each other, our Congress people attack each other, it's kind of like when kids see the parents fight. You look up and you're supposed to be the ones running, you're the guys in charge and you hate each other?
Yeah.
How could you work together and be in charge if you hate each other? So, I mean, I don't know.
That's actually a really funny analogy to the exhaustive majority, that we're the victims of our parents' crappy divorce that had to put up with divorced parents. Because really that kind of does, it even speaks to that one meme that we saw in our last meme update where there was the pink Andrew Yang car that had crashed into the boomer politics vehicle. To a certain extent, it's kind of like, I can see why so many of the millennial and Gen Z generation just feel like we are the byproduct of just crappy boomers' inability to modernize, update, deal with each other, not think ideologically, because they all live in these millionaire ivory towers. And that is what leads to elections like 2016. I completely, wholeheartedly disagree with socialism. My family escaped socialism, but I do not slight frustrated young men and women who gravitate towards Bernie Sanders because they see a slew of both Republican and Democrat candidates living in their millionaire ivory towers with their gerrymandered districts that they will constantly win re-election in, making 6 times, 7 times, 8 times what the average American makes, getting full benefits, no repercussions for bad policy, the whole 9 yards, thinking that when Bernie Sanders gets up there and vilifies them and the 1%, that he is the future, and Trump is representative of the bad upper class. I can see how somebody could quickly make that mental connection without being a stupid person, shall we say. Yeah,
well, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, actually. We were saying, because it is interesting. You look at younger people, and in general, younger people, we were at another couple's family reunion. They had a large family. We were commenting. Yeah. It's wow, they have a lot. Imagine having they're all on stage, 30 people on stage, just a guy, his kids, and his grandkids, and his wife, And we were talking, and it's weird. It's the younger generation. I mean, I was speaking, I'm I guess right in the middle of the millennial era, right? One of my friends is getting married soon. That's about it. None of them have kids. None of them get married. One's getting married. One ironically enough, he isn't getting married, he owns a house. But you're saying, there isn't this sense when you think about younger people of building families. I mean, we think about why is that? And I think you kind of mentioning that's why is there's a lot of young people are so uncertain of their future and feel like so much of the future was taken from them by by whoever. That's where the danger comes in. I think there's a sense of my future's been taken from me by, and then people fill in the blank and just kind of the rich, the government, and that's where we get these kind of fringe groups forming where they feel like they've had something stolen from them and they're just blaming someone. And there's probably, some truth in it. They're probably blaming the right people for a reason, but it's tough, man. There really is a lot of problems we're facing now.
Yeah, you cannot, and there is empirical data that supports this. I mean, me and my father were actually moving just last year. We'd gotten our business into a new location, and when we started out, we were a home-based business, so we had a lot of our financial data and especially our checkbooks in old boxes. And my father, being an old school Price Waterhouse accountant, is the most organized dude with financial records. He actually has all of the original carbon copied checkbooks since he basically turned 18 and became his own man, right? And we were going through them, and what was interesting was he stopped for a second because he was trying to see which checkbooks were from which year, and he looked at it and he said, wow, this is the check that I paid to bring your sister home. And it was for $236 in 1990.
And you pay with a check even.
Yeah, I pay with a check. And even if you calculate for inflation and the money multiplier and so on and so forth.
Triple it to $600 even then.
Yeah, it only cost the equivalent of maybe a modern $500 bill to go to the hospital, have your child, and bring them home, okay? I had my child at the local county hospital, and even with Medi-Cal and discounts and advance pay and this and that, $4,000 the day of, $6,000 by the time we're done. I mean, who has that in their 20s laying around? I mean, my grandpa was working for the railroads as a 14-year-old. I mean, modern 14-year-olds aren't even allowed to have a work permit. He was lying about his age to go fight the Japanese in the Pacific Theater by the time he was 17, and a straight up veteran by the time he's 19. While here, you're not even allowed to drive. You can't do half the crap in America until you're 21 now. Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying?
In the state of California, at least, I will say.
You can't even own a gun by the time you're 21.
The age of 18 is when you can have passengers in your vehicle with you legally. But I hear what you're saying. There definitely is a sense of people seeming to, you're not going to see many 14-year-olds working on railroads. There's an argument that's a good thing.
That bleeds into still, us and us having children.
No, but anyway, this is another topic for another video.
Yeah.
What I do want to get into is what Andrew Yang's actual plan is for the upcoming debate. What he actually wants to do. He wants to emphasize the uniqueness of his platform. Speaking of things like UBI, Freedom Dividend, same thing, but Speakly, Freedom Dividend. And the other thing I want to highlight, and I think if Andrew Yang, honestly, this is going to resonate with people if he does this. If he goes on stage and says, hey, just drive 5 miles through your city. How many stores have closed? How many didn't come back? Go to your mall. Dude, we live in we have one of the larger malls in our area. Huge. I still walk through it and, there's where the Sears used to be. Oh, there used to be this year, just empty now. I mean, even for a big mall that's doing very well and they're planning future developments, it's not the same as it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
And I remember I knew what was on the news about the economic crash of 2008. Okay, I knew that was real. I was a door-to-door salesman during those times. And I was still making successful sales door-to-door because I sold a product that is basically, it's necessary no matter what the economy is. But I realized that truly there had been an economic hit because about 2009 is when you really started seeing a lot of elderly people working in Walmart again. I would love to see data of who Walmart employs. But in my town, cashier was a job that was always held by young men and young women as one of their first jobs and a step up the ladder to get a job. And all of a sudden, I remember starting to see older people working these simple jobs at Walmart that used to be teenager jobs. And you really started noticing down the Central Avenue of our town, stores for lease signs used to be up for a week or two. And you think, oh, what store is going to be in here next? And whenever a store stopped in one location, it'd pop up elsewhere and another storage show up. But now those for lease signs sit for months and months and maybe even years and years. And that actually has a psychological impact because it's a physical reminder of the truth of what automation is doing to our society and what Andrew Yang calls the retail apocalypse. And I don't think it's healthy for a society or a city. And our mall, yes, it is booming and it's doing well, but you cannot say you have not noticed the effects of automation on our mall because one of the things that's doing well is they consolidated 5 stores to become a rock dance concert club thingy.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Which is different than retail. It's not retail. It's a music venue
again,
now.
We could do a whole video just on the retail apocalypse and stuff.
Yes.
But this is what I kind of want to get to the end of the video. And this is from the same article, the Business Insider article. And they're in reference to Andrew Yang stepping up his grassroots. He said that Jones said in addition to a stronger debate performance, the Yang team is expanding their grassroots on-the-ground organizing efforts in early states like Iowa and New Hampshire, where Yang attended high school. As Jones put it, the goal is to reach out to people who the Democratic Party has left behind. I wonder how many people who found it, as I said, kind of, unfortunately refreshing that Andrew Yang and Michael Bennett are kind of going back and forth in each other in a joking way and having fun and, just seeming like human beings and how they act. I wonder how many people who appreciate this would also consider themselves in that group, in that group of Democrats, in that exhausted majority, the group of people that are like, look, I'm not I really care about the few things that impact my family and my life. And like, I want to start there. And I think that a lot of people feel like that both parties, there's criticisms, have done this, have gotten away from, like, you listen to people talking in the debate and you're like, well, hold on a minute. Where's the part about, like, bringing jobs back to my community? And then maybe, Trump does talk about that. And it's like, okay, well, hold on a minute. Where's the part about, like, healthcare is like a really big issue for me and my family?
Yeah.
You guys, and then Democrats talk about that. But then, like I'm saying is, there's a sense where, like, every voter sits and watches these debates left and right and says, well, hold on a minute, though. Where's, like, the stuff that I actually have to deal with? You talked about some of it, but he talked about a bunch of stuff that, like, I'd like to do, but, like, can we talk about the things that actually impact my life? So I think it's really fun to see Andrew Yang going on about this. And there's one last picture I want to show real quick, because I don't know where else we're going to show it. Just along the lines, right before I finish up here, Andrew Yang, human being, real person, someone that you can actually relate to. He's not Donald Trump in the Golden Tower. He's a father, man. He's just a guy. Like, I think someone actually retweeted this on my timeline and said, "Holy cow, he's actually a real person." Like,
Yeah.
he's not in his uniform of the suit with no tie and the open jacket. He's not wearing what he always wears, but he's wearing actually right here. He's not wearing this uniform. You see him in all the time.
He looks like all of our friends' dads.
Exactly. He looks like a human being, man.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody. And then I want to show this too. This kind of made me laugh. Speaking of, just a zoom in on his shirt. It says, I believe, a La Cueva Cantina, tequila, and a couple other things here. But again, it's like your dad grabbed his shirt off the rack at Kohl's and wore it because I don't care. I'm on vacation with my kids in some national park. I don't care if I'm wearing a weird Kohl's graphic tee. Like, it's refreshing. And again, I think the people that this is going to resonate with are exactly the people he wants it to resonate with. People who say the Democratic Party left me behind, becoming this party of ivory tower millionaires and their slave class. That's gone. I want a human being who's representing people that live a real life in this country, and I think that's great.
Awesome. So, hey, everybody, please like, share, subscribe this video. Let us know what you think. If this will work, I have reservations about whether the DNC will let it, for lack of a better term, after what we saw in 2016. So anyway, please share this video with your buddies, with your friends. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We still try and respond to every comment that we can. This is Problem Solver Politics.